Do you do you take into consideration in the RFP process the uniqueness of a locality? So, again, I do represent Fundy the Isles, or at least 3 of the 4 islands. I always quiz people and see if they can name all 4. Most people can't. But I do represent 3 of the 4. And what I have learned as an MLA, not being an islander, is that there is significant uniqueness, and that what works for the island does not necessarily work for the mainland. So my question is, do you have a cookie cutter approach, or do you take into consideration the uniqueness of the areas, such as the island, in your RFP process?
So I would say both, because the RFP process, the tendering process, is a set process that's been approved. So that process is run regardless of where the location is. Where the uniqueness of the location would come into play, and I'll use your area as an example, any proponents within the square or the area that's been deemed to be eligible to apply, they would all be within the same area. So they would inherently have the same uniquenesses, from traffic to clientele, etc. So in that regard, they're all being held, scored against one another, who inherently would have those same profiles, being from the same area.
But one example that I can think of is, perhaps, I have always heard, whether or not it's true, I do not know, that there is greater weight given to someone who sells gasoline. And if there's only one place that sells it, because you are in such a unique locale, does it make sense to include that in your weighting?
So when we talk about that, one of the big areas we look at is where you're located, how accessible you are, and how much traffic goes by your business.
And how many other opportunities you might have to purchase. When you're on an island, you've got one place to shop, and that's it. And when you award that contract, you are giving a golden ticket to somebody, and you are essentially picking winners and losers in that situation.
And inherently, that's what an RFP process does, though. It allows all people who meet the criteria to come forward and express interest and be held to a standard that's transparent, and the person who puts forward the best proposal ultimately wins the RFP. And that's how we run the process time and time again.